What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Life's a Garden. Today's guest is an actor and comedian. He does theater performance. He's acted and directed in multiple indie films. And he is also a member of the Yellowstone Repertory Theatre, as well as the Projectile Comedy Group, which performs every Thursday night at the Loft in downtown Billings. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Chaz Llewellyn. Chaz, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Dakota. Thanks for having me.
Right on. So, what's been going on recently for you as far as, comedy and acting and all that stuff?
A lot.
I know, right?
A lot of good stuff. Obviously, so projectile comedy is kind of the main thing. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't say the main thing. It's the most consistent thing, right? Because we still do our weekly Thursday night shows over at the Loft right now. Beyond that, I'm an executive ensemble member over at Yellowstone Repertory Theatre.
Okay.
And so we're doing a bunch of work with them, obviously with, post-COVID and still kind of COVID in the air type of environment. It's a little tough for any sort of theater, especially like a young one like YRT or Yellowstone Repertory Theater. So we're just trying to get our seasons back in order and really just trying to get that ball back rolling. Mm-hmm. Which is really cool, though, actually, because tonight, Yellowstone Repertory Theater is going to be putting on the show that we had to cancel because COVID. Excuse me.
Speaking of COVID.
So, yeah, speaking of COVID. So they're putting on The Children again tonight as the first production at the new Alberta Bear Theater.
Oh, okay.
Which is super cool. But yeah, what was it?
Oh, I was going to say the Yellowstone Repertoire Theater?
Yeah.
Where is that at?
So that's the thing, right? It's we don't really have a where.
Oh,
right
okay.
Now. So we have this company, and it's actually Billings' first. I want to say it's the first professional theater.
Okay.
In terms of we do a show, and depending on the success of that show, how well it goes and stuff, the theater will pay its actors.
Okay.
Weird.
So it's kind of like more of a group then? You're like a theater group?
I would say that's fair.
And you're kind of just trying to find a home almost?
Yeah. I mean, we'd love to get a home at some point in time, but of course, the expense of everything and being a young theater, it's not like we have these groups of investors and stuff. We're really, honestly, just getting by with our ticket sales and donations and all that stuff. It is a not-for-profit type of theater.
Okay.
So, until we can grow it and get to the point where we can, sustainably have a place, then heck yeah, we'll get that place. But
cool. As
of right now, we've done many. I think this is our third season. I guess kind of take two on the third season. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we're calling it the third season or the fourth.
Just because of off year.
Because we were on our third season and then COVID. So I don't know. Does that mean that's off? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the specifics about that, but.
Fourth year, third season.
Yeah, fourth year, third season. What have you? Where was I even going with that now?
Oh, just talking about theaters and getting into different theaters.
Yeah. So we've been doing a lot of performances at Nova.
Okay. Yeah.
And the big struggle with that, obviously, as our group is concerned, is we've done so many productions there because it's an affordable place to put on a show. They have lights, they have grids, the ability to create stages and stuff over there. So it's already pre-set up for us to do a show. Mm-hmm. But then the problem being people think, oh, so it's a Nova thing. And you're like, no.
Right.
It's not really a Nova thing, but
but it's still nice that you have a place to go do that. And I was just thinking, it's even though you don't have your own spot, there are a lot of places here to perform at.
There are.
So... Yeah. There's no real rush to get that.
Oh no, there really isn't, and we've done a couple things with Moss Mansion.
Okay.
So that's been a great partnership with them. Kicking this off with Alberta Bear is going to be really, really cool. They kind of approached our theater because they saw a couple of our productions, like The Importance of Being Earnest and The Children and stuff, and And so they wanted to use us so they can basically, how do I want to put it? They want to test everything out over at Alberta Bear because they put all these millions of dollars worth of stuff, equipment, lights, sound systems, but now they just need to test it before they bring in these traveling acts off Broadways, these big concerts, and because they bring in some pretty big productions.
Oh, I'm so excited with what they've done with that place. Like, it looks I haven't been inside yet.
Oh, it's awesome.
Really?
Oh, man.
I mean, I loved it before, but it just looks more modern, more like up to date and stuff, which is, I like the classic too, but it's like that theater needed a good revamping.
Yeah, absolutely. It needed a facelift. It needed, it was a little outdated and all that fun stuff. And, as people are coming in to use the Alberta Bear, you don't want to be on that don't perform here list.
Exactly. Well, it's like now it definitely caters to maybe a bigger show. Like, they might bring in more comedy acts. I remember, didn't Dave Chappelle perform there?
Yeah.
A while back? And then there's been some big acts there, and like you said, Broadway performances.
Yeah, off-Broadway shows and all that fun stuff, which, are way, way, way more involved. And so it's great that we're kind of getting our foot in the door, at least with Alberta Bear and stuff, and hopefully that leads to, bigger and greater things in the future and all that fun stuff. But it's exciting the way that, how things are coming along with that.
Right.
And it's been great, like Dina Brophy and I don't know if you remember Dina from the Venture days.
Kind of.
You might have. She was actually, because she would do theater stuff, but she was kind of like the old Venture Theaters.
Wait, yes, I do. I totally remember her.
Remember?
Yeah,
because she was kind of like the administrator. Like, she would do a bunch of all the office stuff, and all that stuff. But yeah, Dina's a part of it. I don't know, Cassidy Riley. Me and her have done a bunch of things. Of course, Craig Rosengay. I don't know that you would remember him from back then, because I really honestly didn't get to know him until just recently. But he's our artistic director and stuff. And Susan Sommerfeld, and it's just all these great Vint Lavender and all these great theater actors in town and stuff that are involved with it. So it makes it more exciting. Yeah, I think, and for me.
You brought up the Venture Theater days. I got to talk about it.
Yeah, we do.
This is where our connection really lies. And I talked about it, I don't know, it was a few episodes ago. It was after I had saw you at the Crystal.
Oh, yeah.
And I had, wanted to bring it up because it was just a crazy coincidence that it even happened.
Yeah.
And jogged my memory about the old days. So, just to refresh everybody, I went back, what was it? It must have been 6th grade, 7th grade, or 5th grade, 6th grade.
5th, 6th, I think.
Somewhere in there. I did it for 3 summers.
Yeah.
Because Venture Theater used to run a summer camp for, it was 2 weeks or something like that?
Yeah, I think it was like a 2-week summer school or something like that, yeah.
Maybe even more, I don't remember. Because that seems crazy that in 2 weeks we learned a whole play. And
yeah, we produced it.
Yeah, as young, not really professional actors.
The showcases.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, but you were my showcase for, I think, the last year I was there.
That makes sense. Yeah, yeah. Because and I remember because when I ran into you at the Crystal and we took a selfie, naturally,
of course,
because
who doesn't?
Yeah, right. And I remember I sent it to Aaron Claxton and Wendy Kessler, and I'm like, "Hey, remember Dakota, who we used to fight over for showcases?"
Oh wow,
yeah, we did. We used to fight because obviously there's so many kids and so many different various levels from. Like you said, from 4th, 5th, 6th, middle school, all the way through high school and all that stuff. So it's such a diverse group. And when we would do showcases, obviously, so it wasn't that the showcase was just for the 5th, 6th graders, and then this showcase is for the middle schoolers. It was everybody. So we would have we'd have just the little kids and high schoolers, middle schoolers, and we'd do it like a lottery. We'd do it like a draft.
Oh, wow. That's kind of fun, though.
So we would all get in...
I'd hate to be the last person.
I know.
Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, nobody wanted... Yeah, that was the worst. But, because as you might have recalled, the first, day, we would have auditions.
Yes.
Everybody in the whole thing would audition, right? And then all the teachers or staff would be there, and everybody had to put on their own showcase that went for 5-10 minutes. Or
it was just a short little thing.
It was just a little skit. something for the parents at the very end of it. And yeah, so we do the lottery. Everybody would pick their numbers, and then of course there was always that handful of kids that actually weren't turds or
Tried to take it seriously.
Yeah, tried to take it seriously, who actually wanted to be a part of the Venture Summer School to learn acting and stuff. But inevitably, you always have that big group of kids who it's just like, it was a thing for parents to kind of get them enlisted in so they can, I don't know, go to work and not have to worry about daycare.
Right.
Honestly, you know? So, so yeah, that pool, like you were definitely in that pool of like, I gotta get Dakota, or I gotta get somebody. You know?
I remember there was definitely a few people who were top level and like had been doing it a while. Mm-hmm. So it's like,
yeah,
that's cool that I was in that class. I guess I didn't really think about it that way, but cool. Right on.
Hell yeah, you were in a good group.
And God, I remember all my showcases for the 3 years I was there. Uh-huh. But the one we did was by far the coolest.
Which one was that? Was that the murder mystery one?
Yeah. Yes. And it was a comedy.
That's right.
But the cool thing, because unlike the other ones I had done, mm-hmm. you kind of just let us write it as we went.
Right.
We all kind of just had a part in writing it. And then we all threw out different ideas, and then you went home and wrote the script.
Right.
Whereas, like, the other ones, they were just like, okay, we're going to do this. Like, this is my idea we're going to do, and we're going to do it. And which is fine.
Yeah.
But the way you did it, it was just like, it was way more involving. Everyone kind of had like a part to play in it. Where it's like, well, I got this idea. And then all just kind of molded together.
Well, and then that's how I did all of them. Really, all of my showcases. Just because, like, yeah, I could go home and write something, but I don't even know who I'm going to get.
Right.
I don't know if it's even going to be feasible with the people you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, so and you can kind of mold it around, the actors and kind of give everybody the part they should be playing.
Sure.
And then everyone, well, like I said, feels more involved in what they're doing.
Right. 100%.
And then it gives you the creative ability to kind of just think on your feet and, okay, so now I got to come up with something real quick. So I'm sure that was kind of fun for you as well.
100%. And those are one of my favorite things to do. Like when we've done some Nomad comedians, Jim and Chad Korb, are doing these kind of variety shows. And that's my favorite part of any sort of like creative theatrical thing, is coming up with skits and doing that writer's table session for ideas and all that fun stuff. So, you know, because especially with the summer school, it's like sometimes shit just comes out, even with 4th, 5th, 6th graders, middle schoolers, high schoolers, that I wouldn't have even fathomed. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have ever have thought of that.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, that's brilliant. Hell yeah.
Well, it's like, the mind of kids sometimes will surprise you for sure.
Oh, sure. Or any sort of collaborative project. I love that.
Well, yeah, because then you can bounce off of other people. It's like somebody says something that gives me an idea, and then I can something I might not have thought of on my own.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's always good to have like a writer's room, basically.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things.
So, how long did you work at Venture, or like do the whole Venture thing? And was that kind of part of a... How did that all like work? Was it all of you were just part of a group together, or was that something that you're just all separate actors and you came together to just work on that summer school?
So Mason and Lisa, obviously Mason Archer, Lisa Fox and stuff, when they were running the theater, they wanted to do a summer school, and it was always funny because they were like, this is a summer school, we're not doing a camp, we're not doing a
teach
whatever, because they were trying to get away from parents who just want to put their kid into something. Obviously that never always works 100%, but and then from that, obviously Lisa and Mace would basically invite people that they would like to be a part of it, you know. And they would, what was cool is they would invite people and really focus in on that person's skill set.
Okay.
Right. So when I was in it, you know, I was still in high school. I think I was junior, senior, and then a little bit after that, I think after I graduated. But so I wasn't doing any of the advanced stuff because I was still learning. You know, I'm still trying to learn the craft just as much. So working with the high schoolers wouldn't make sense, right? But I definitely had a handle on basics and have a handle on all just the back end stuff of theater at that time. So then they're like, okay, perfect. You'd be suited for 4th, 5th, 6th.
Okay.
Suited for that. But with that, obviously we all had to come up with electives.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that. That was so fun because I remember there was like improv. We had like one that was dance, choreography, one that was like combat.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
We had to select an elective, as I recall. We had to do something that wasn't offered at the school. So I remember I love fly fishing, so I would grab a group and I taught them how to cast.
Oh yeah, there was I remember all that. Like there was just ones that weren't part of the acting. Is that what it was?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
So
don't remember
for
which
the
ones I
electives,
did.
so we would come up with 3 or 4 or 5 things and stuff. And I remember,
Huh.
oh, that's right, because I was, and I also had a bunch of experience at that time too, going through ROTC because I was actually trying to get into the Army at the time.
Oh wow.
So from that, and it's called the DEP, the Delayed Entry Program. So basically, when you tried to enlist, or when I was trying to enlist, you go through this delayed entry program, where before you go to basic, you meet up with all the sergeants from the recruiting office and all that stuff. They take you through drill. They take you through like all the basic shit that obviously you do at basic, but it's better for them if you knew it before you went there, so you can what I mean. So,
Right.
So from that program, if you complete all these things, then you could actually be promoted before you even go there. Because when you go to basic, you're an E1, just basic lowest rank possible, but you could make it into basic as like an E2, maybe even an E3 before you even get there.
Okay.
And so from that experience and all that stuff, I knew drill and I knew how to drill. So one of the electives I did was called the Army Way, and we just go into
Now that sounds familiar.
the room, and then we'd just do some drill. We'd make stand at attention. This is how you salute. This is how you left face, right face, about face, and this is how you would do So it was just like shit that wouldn't have anything to do with theater at all.
Right. See, and I don't remember what mine were. Like I can't remember any.
Right. Oh, there was tons of we had like ultimate frisbee. I remember, but we did that one year, but then we had to kind of squash that
Because somebody got hurt or something?
No, because we had to we'd have like 10 or 20 even people sign up for the damn thing.
Oh yeah.
But then we're like, the nearest park is over at North Park. Well, we got to load up in the venture vans.
And then you only have...
But there's only so many seatbelts.
so
it got a little sketchy.
However much time you have to do it and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. So it was fun, but just some sort of electives that didn't have anything to do with.
Yeah, I do kind of remember now. I don't really remember what mine were, but I remember that being a thing. Yeah. And then you had to sign up for it because I remember being like, oh, that looks like the cool one.
Right.
Or like, that's the one I'm interested in.
Right.
Because, I do remember that now.
Yeah. I didn't remember how they decided who, where, because of too many people signed up for the thing. I don't know if it was first come, first serve. Oh yeah, that's right. Because weren't there sheets?
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
And then it would just be like, okay, first 10 in this, or the first whatever in that. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
God, it's all flooding back. It's all coming back to me.
It's so wild because it doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but damn, that was like almost 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Which really isn't that long. But it is.
Yes,
I mean, I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary for high school, and that seems crazy.
Jesus, right?
Because I don't feel like it's been that long.
No.
Fuck.
We're in a weird spot in our lives, man.
I know.
I remember, being 20-something, or just in high school, I'm going to have a wife, 3 kids, 2 minimum, but 3 kids when I'm 25, being my career.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
Well, it's like, there's always
25 seems so far away from then.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's like it doesn't ever really happen the way you picture it.
Never.
And it's fine to picture it.
Yeah.
It's fine to have that vision in your head, have a vision board or whatever. But did I ever think I'd be doing anything I've done up until this point? Probably not.
No, hell no.
Right. I'm with you. I imagine myself married or in a relationship or something like that. And right now, that's the furthest I want.
I got so much shit to figure out right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I'm Yeah. My vision for when I was in high school is not what it is today.
Yeah. And that's what makes life fun.
Yeah, and it's like my
makes it
vision
stressful,
for
but
my vision for 10 years from now is probably not going to be what it is. So, because life happens.
Yeah,
that's just it.
That's it, right? Life just happens. And that's so true for everything. Like me and my wife right now, we've been trying to have a baby
Oh, yeah?
for going on almost 3 years.
Oh, okay.
It just hasn't happened. We've all been tested for everything and all that, but like you said, life happens.
That's crazy because I've always thought about like how, I guess, I always thought like having a kid was kind of easy.
Easy.
Yeah.
You would think.
Like you try so hard to not have one for so long, and then when you try to have one, you can't.
I know. Yeah. And that's the craziness that I'm actually kind of learning throughout this whole process, because it's a little devastating, you know.
Yeah.
It's hard on both of us, me and my wife, that it's taken. It's been so difficult, and it's so easy. I think I've had to take a step back and just see that, or recognize that, you know, on Facebook or Insta or everything, you're seeing, you know, baby announcements all over the fucking place.
Oh yeah, tell me about it.
All over.
I'm losing my friends left and right because of it.
Yeah, exactly. But what you don't see are the struggles, or the people who aren't able to. You know, what's frustrating for us is that, you know, we haven't, but we're both testing just fine. Like there's nothing preventing it to happen. Right. My sperm's swimming, her eggs are producing. So it's just hasn't happened yet.
Well, and you know what?
And whatever.
Maybe that's just how it needs to be for now.
Sure.
And then, I mean, you just got to hope that eventually it will happen, and like that's the time it's meant to happen.
Right. And that's all you can do, because I mean, of course, we've done like the IUI thing, which isn't the in vitro.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because that shit's expensive.
Oh yeah.
$20,000 or some crap.
And even that's, as far as I know, it's still like a crapshoot. Like it may or may not work.
Exactly.
And if it doesn't work, you still owe that money.
Then that's it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So,
Want to try again?
Yeah, exactly.
It's $20,000.
That's
no,
crazy.
and I don't know if it's even that much, but still, like it's in the tens, you know, 10,000, 20,000 range.
Yeah.
It's not cheap, unless we want to go to like Mexico. I'm sure it's probably only about $6,000 there.
Maybe $6.
Maybe $6, depending.
Well, I mean,
but
like I said, you just gotta hope that it's gonna happen, and just know in your heart it's gonna happen, and then when that time happens, that's when it's meant to be.
Right? Yeah, my buddy Paul told me, just quit your job or something. Like do something drastic, because that's when babies come. When they're like the most
when you're not expecting, like
the most inconvenient time.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're setting a career and like you got your whole life set up ready for a kid, and then you can't, like it doesn't happen. Right. Yeah, you got to be in like the worst possible situation to get one.
I've been just looking to go to prom with Courtney. Like just show up to a prom.
Do one of those adult proms or whatever.
Let's go to a prom.
Yeah.
Meet you in the bathroom. That's probably when it's going to happen.
Well, you know, just think about it this way. At least for now, you get to have fun practicing, right?
Yeah.
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 So
exactly. No, it's not the world's worst thing.
No.
For sure.
I want to get back. Actually, I want to talk about comedy real quick.
Yeah.
Because like that's your other thing too. So.
Yeah.
Well, actually, so first of all, you do theater. You've done movies, right?
I've done 2 feature films.
Okay.
Local, like low budget stuff, but yeah.
Like indie stuff. Mm-hmm. Okay. What are those called?
So we did, and this is all with Trevor Stiles. He's a local filmmaker. He does Escrow by day, and then films whenever he can. But we did Hobbs and Phil versus Zombies. That was we pitch it. The pitch for that one is a bromantic zomedy.
Okay,
is how it is. Yeah. So it's Eric Weber and Jason Harris or Big J.
Yeah.
And they're friends in the zombie apocalypse, and it's a comedy, and it's just so fucking silly, but it's kind of a beer drinking, pot smoking, like almost kind of like a National Lampoon esque.
Kind of like Shaun of the Dead, almost.
Kind of,
like
with
in that
mercenaries
realm.
in there, so sprinkle in some action and stuff like that. But nothing's taken too seriously, of course. But it's a great it's a fun film.
Okay.
And we did that some years
I do
ago.
remember that, like, being promoted and stuff. I remember
Yeah.
hearing about that. And, like, people asking for extras. I think one of my friends was an extra in that.
Oh yeah,
As a
we needed
zombie.
tons of zombies and stuff. And that was the fun thing about the film, though, is that it's almost like the zombies are more of a nuisance than they are a threat
Okay,
in
yeah.
this film. Like, one of my favorite things is one of the favorite scenes in there is there's a zombie coming off, walking up, and Eric's just talking to Jason about something, and this zombie like runs into Eric. He's like, "Oh, okay," and he just pushes him off, and that's all. He's like, "Okay."
So they're not...
Just
Okay.
so it's not like we're freaking out necessarily and all that stuff, but that's actually kind of one of the plot points in that film, is that there's this blood out there that makes them go crazy again and makes them more ravenous than the nuisances that they've been. So it's so that's kind of like they do play a factor eventually, but it's pretty wild. It's a fun flick.
And then what was the other one?
So then the other one we did just like 3 or 4 years ago, I guess, is The Blood Hunter.
Okay.
And so The Blood Hunter is it's more I don't want to say this, like, I don't want to come across, but we took it more seriously. It's a deeper script. It has a lot more depth, a lot more heart to it.
Yeah. Different type of role.
Different types of roles. Yep, absolutely. But that one's about a guy who gets basically involved with a group of vampire hunters called the Blood Hunters. Mm-hmm. And of course, there's this big, subculture of vampires out there, and it sounds almost Blade-esque, but I'm trying to think of what's the big the big twist on that one. Oh, Caleb, Caleb is the antagonist. I played Caleb, which is super new to me at the time because I've never been the antagonist.
I feel like that'd be so fun to play
anything.
That kind of role.
It was fun.
Yeah,
it was fun.
You get to step out of your because everyone wants to be the hero,
the nice guy, right?
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah, and I'm always the nice, quirky guy, and whatever, blah blah blah. But, typecast. But.
I mean, there's certain guys that obviously they get kind of put into that role where they're always the bad guy.
Yeah,
but they're just so damn good at it.
Right? They're so good at it.
And it's like, to be a good villain. I always heard, and I stand by this.
Yeah,
a good villain makes a good movie. Like 100%. If you don't have a good villain, then what's the point?
Yeah. Then it's, if I'm not scared of this guy or worried about him or anything of that nature, then it's lost. Why even have it?
Yeah, exactly.
100%. I'm sorry. I gotta get this actor's name.
Okay.
Because he was like my big muse during that. I think he just makes one of the most epic villains ever. Gary Oldman.
Oh, yeah.
Gary Oldman in the movie The Professional.
Mm-hmm. Great movie.
His character in that, I think, was one of my most favorite, like, not anti-hero, what am I saying, but antagonist roles. Mm-hmm. He was so good at it. It was so subtle. Well, but it was so effective.
He's just one of those versatile actors that can, like, play anything.
Super underrated.
Yeah. Well, it's like you get guys like, I don't know, Will Smith or, Tom Cruise, who are, like, great actors.
Oh, yeah.
But they always end up playing, like, the same role.
They're blockbuster, things and stuff. I think...
The Rock, another guy who's just like, blockbuster style, but ends up basically doing the same role.
100%.
Then you got guys like Johnny Depp and Gary Oldman who are just so flexible and can be one completely different character from the next, and you can barely, like, tell them apart.
Right. See, because I'd put Gary Oldman in kind of the Daniel Day-Lewis side of things.
I see that.
Just in terms of versatility and just brilliance.
Oh, dude, it's crazy.
He's just brilliant. He's so good. Yeah. Anyways, but so the Blood Hunter is so it's a great action thriller, very bloody, which was
I would hope so with that
fun.
name.
We had 2 blood cannons on set at all times, and by blood cannons I mean like kind of like if you can imagine or picture, I mean almost like a potato gun.
Okay.
Kinda
for like the blood spray or whatever.
But a shorter barrel with a wider, shorter, wider type of barrels, almost like a shotgun of.
Oh wow!
We just load that fucker up, and it had we had air compressors on it, and man, when you pulled that trigger, woof! Oh, it was great.
I'm sure it made for good effect.
It does. It really, really does. And that film actually had some really good traction on it in terms of getting some distribution and all that stuff. Unfortunately, it had to get tabled, but
oh really?
It
never saw the light of day.
I mean, we did have the showing at the Babcock. We had a couple of those, our premieres of that. I guess we couldn't call it a premiere. You had to call it a screening.
Okay.
Because for the film festival world, a lot of film festivals are all high and mighty on their own shit and say it can't be premiered. Because they wanted they had bragging rights if it goes anywhere. So I don't know, fucking stupid. But so we called it a screening, a public screening of it. For all intents and purposes, we premiered it at the Babcock. And,
okay.
But we submitted it to film festivals. It won accolades. It won awards. We sent it off to some indie horror film reviewers, and it got great reviews. Their biggest, and our biggest pride point on that film was, I think we did that film on $25,000.
I was going to ask what the budget was.
So small. I mean, that's like the micro of micro budget films.
So how do you get budgeting for like an indie film?
Well, that was all us basically.
Wow.
So in The Blood Hunter, I was a co-director as well as played Caleb, as well as a producer. We all had 5 hats. Everybody involved had 5 hats, and so there's always so much to do. And obviously, it's a fairly big cast and all that fun stuff. So, man, it took all of us basically chipping in, because we'll put in $1,000 here, but I'll also, help provide lunches on these days or whatever on this day. So there was always that outside budget that we just didn't really put on paper for it because we did, we had Timothy Quill and Danny Hicks in the film, kind of because if you do a film like that, you do have to put half or more, in this case, way more than half of our budget just to get some sort of C-list actor, cult actor, you know what I mean?
Like a name.
Yeah, a little bit of a name. Obviously, like you say Danny Hicks and Timothy Quill, and somebody was like, I don't know. But if I say from Army of Darkness, that's when you go, oh.
Yeah.
He played the blacksmith in Army of Darkness, Sam Raimi's first thing,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So that will keep people in, and then they'll start being interested.
Yeah,
right?
if you say so-and-so from this.
Yeah, Danny Hicks from Evil Dead series and stuff. Oh, great. Okay. So now that, so it gives, it puts a little bit of clout in your project is all it is. But they, and unfortunately both of them passed away last year.
Oh, wow.
Danny to cancer, and I think Tim, I'm not sure if it was complications with COVID or he just, I don't know necessarily with Tim, but unfortunately they both passed. But anywho's, but it was, I'm so proud of that film. It just sucks that it had to stop, because
right?
I think the thing could have had a lot of traction. I really do.
So, can you see that anywhere?
We have some copies.
Yeah.
Just personal.
Yeah.
But no, we can't, we don't have it in streaming and stuff.
Damn.
I know, and it really sucks because the musician is I'm losing his name. But he did the Lost Boys song. Do you know the Lost Boys?
Oh yeah.
What's that? Goodness, I can hear the song in my head. The come little sister, that
yeah.
Fall.
Now
Cry, but that
yes,
song, the guy who made the song, we reached out to him to see if we could use it. in our film. And unfortunately, as it is in the industry, he doesn't own it. Universal Studios owns that song, owns the rights to it. He actually gave us all his blessings, but that doesn't do anything. That's just a thumbs up,
Yeah.
But we were able to lock down festival rights for the song.
Okay.
So
how does that work?
Ronit in Denver did a version of the song, and it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost balladesque, but modern in the same stance. And so she remade it, and we have it in the film. So we have the rights to use that particular song in the film for festivals.
Okay.
If we distribute it, now we need to go after full rights.
Right.
Right. And that's
expansive.
You got to find a distributor who's willing to pay that bill.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest hangups on that film.
Damn.
And it worked so beautifully that we didn't want to take it out. And then isn't
that a bummer too? It's like
it's so hard
on such a small thing. That's what hangs it up. And
yeah, well, yeah, and then there's a couple other things and stuff, but
right.
It's tabled now, and the other hard part, and I talk to filmmakers, and they look at me and just shake their heads out of disappointment because you have what's called deliverables. So when you give a distributor the film, you have to give them you have to give them all the raw footage, you have to give them the audio, you have to give them the script, you have to have it dubbed.
Oh yeah,
you have
really?
You have to. The deliverables are like here's basically here's the film, and then here's all the stuff so you can re-edit it. Essentially, we don't have all that stuff. We have all the mesh togethers, but we don't have it dubbed. We don't have it. We don't have a final shoot script because we're making edits on set. So now, if we do a final shoot script, we actually have to watch it and script it again. You know what I mean? So, and as life happens, even in a film, we're changing shit all the time. Or we have it scripted to do this, and then we get on set, and then we're like,
just making
we can't do that.
Yeah,
we can't do. There's no way we're gonna do that.
Well, that happens a lot,
all the time.
Films,
yeah, all the time. So I mean, who knows? Who knows if there's ever a time that that we have the money and energy to do it, because we'd have to invest another probably about $4,000-$5,000 just to make sure all the deliverables are there and available to get it going. Right. Who knows? But at this point in time, it's on the table, unfortunately.
So where could somebody see the other movie?
Hobbs and Phil?
Mm-hmm.
Good question. And I think Hobbs and Phil is something we can probably just throw on YouTube or something. I know there's tons of copies floating around everywhere. I think I have 20 or 30 in my garage right now, so
okay.
I'll be happy to drop you one. But
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, but as of right now, it's not on any sort of streaming platform or anything like that, unfortunately. But
gotcha.
But yeah.
So comedy.
Where
did let's just do comedy, because I don't want to divert again from
shit, yeah, that's right.
No, it's all good, because that was something the movie stuff is what I wanted to talk about that too at some point. Start me from the beginning. When did you start doing it? How did you get into projectile comedy? And then just give the rundown.
History of me and comedy. It was my involvement with Venture Theater back. This was when we were actually doing our shows out of a garage on Central Avenue.
Okay.
Which is now, I think it's like a business called Extreme Machines or some shit like that on Central. Just up the road. It's not far from here. Okay. But that's where Venture Theater started, and that's when I got involved with Venture when I was I think I was a sophomore or something like that. I was doing a couple productions at Venture, and Mace approached me because he was thinking about doing a high school improv group with Venture. They've been doing the adult improv over at like Dr. Feelgood's when that was around and all that stuff. But I think in his head, like he, obviously like trying to get, that sort of skill set's valuable, but at the same point, kind of as almost like a farm team for potential Venture Theater future stuff. And so me and Jason Harris were the founding members of the Funky Bunch group.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from that, then, you know, we brought in a bunch of different other people into that group, like Aaron Claxton and Shay Tomich, and you know, there's Ashley, and there's just a bunch of us that did it, David Ginn, and then from that original kind of group, it started, you know, we'd rehearse and practice the games, right? At that time, with improv, it was just do the game, play the gimmicks of the game, right? So forward and reverse, you know, you go forward, you go back, do the same thing, and that's where we learned to play those games.
Kind of like a Who's Line type.
Yeah. Exactly. Theater. So in today's improv comedy world, theater sports is what we were doing.
Right.
So we were doing gimmick games, theater sports, and it's funny because those are the games like improvisers in big cities do to warm up for the show. They don't use that shit, type of thing, as it's evolved and grown. But anyway, so that's we learned that in high school, and you know, kind of went through that. After high school, after we graduated, after we turned 18, I know Jason Harris went into venture improv. And I did for a time, but to be honest with you, I was no good with that group. And so then I was let go from venture improv for a while, after high school, but then I was reinvited back in, about a year later and all that stuff. I just wasn't that great at it, to be honest with you.
Learning and all that.
Yeah, exactly. And I got back into it and also started, you know, helping out with the Funky Bunch group after high school. So then I was back with Venture Theater Improv. At that time, we were performing over at Surfer Joe's downtown with the old Wild West.
God, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, baby. Oh, man. What a shit bar that was. They went from the shit bar that was Dr. Feelgood's to the other shit bar that was...
I mean, that's kind of how that evolution of that stuff kind of has to happen, right?
Exactly. But no, so it was actually, and it was good. Like the Surfer Joe's portion of it was good. And, you know, it's on Thursday night, so it's not like it wasn't the rough, you know, or the crowds of the weekends that, you know, caused all the trouble. So it was fine.
Well, you got to go through all the trials and tribulations in order to reach that pinnacle. So I'm sure it built you up as a better performer.
Yeah. You get to, you know, that's really where I learned to read the audience and kind of learn from the audience instead of doing what I want to do. Because what I want to do isn't necessarily all that great. But, you know, playing with, you know, opening myself up more to the audience and the other improvisers, really. It was an incredibly valuable lesson overall, just for performance reasons or performance aspects of it. But so did that, and then it was actually when we were there, when I kind of went back with Venture Theater, that's when you know, Chad Korb was still with the group, Zach Kreider was with the group, Eric Weber, Jason and all them. But at the time, they were paying us with Visa gift cards because Venture Theater is a non-for-profit. They couldn't hire us, right? Or I don't know what the whole tax reason and all this stuff. Looking back, I'm like, I don't know if that was necessarily right either. But they would do that. So every show we would do, they would give us a $25 gift card or even $20 or something like that. Anyways, which was a pain in the ass because then they would go to the mall at the time and just purchase a bunch of Visa gift cards and then have them in envelopes for us at the theater whenever they were able to do that. Yeah. It was a little convoluted. You know, and then at the same point when, you know, we're charging people like $5 at the door, it started to equate that we're kind of getting hosed. Yeah. You know, and so from that, Jason and Chad and Zach and Eric and stuff, they started Projectile Comedy. Okay. And when they originally started, they because it was a big point of contention, right? Because, you know, now we have two comedy groups in town, Venture Improv and then Projectile Comedy. And like it had to get into this like kind of Godfather-esque like sit around a table type of thing between Mace and Jason.
Oh wow!
Like just to figure out, like Jason's like, no, I won't do improv. You know, I'm not going to directly compete with you guys because I'm not going to do improv. We're going to do sketch comedy shows every week. And that's how it started. Come to find out, doing a weekly sketch comedy show
is not easy. It's super hard, but they did it for a long time.
Yeah.
Really? And when was so what's the year on this? When this all
I would say this is probably about 2005.
Damn.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't realize how long Projectile's been around.
Yeah.
I knew it'd been around for a while, but I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah. I mean, that's like 2005, 2006 maybe, but I
Okay.
think it's 2005 when all that kind of went down. But I was still with Venture Theater at that time.
Right.
With the Venture Improv. I didn't go over with Projectile. In all honesty, I wasn't invited to come over at that time. Which is fine. So we just kept doing the show. They were doing awesome in their show. And then the whole Venture catastrophe happened.
Yeah, run me through that real quick because I was, or maybe
it's it was very controversial in terms of like Mace had a relationship outside of his marriage with Lisa.
I do actually kind of remember
this. And it was with somebody that was a part of the theater. So
that just
it just I mean that whole thing, yeah, right. I mean it just snowballed into this big thing that, you know, obviously Mace, Mace resigned, I think, and he left first, and then Lisa did kind of the same. So really the heart and soul of that theater left. Yeah. You know, everything that was set up, and ran by Mace and Lisa, their dailies was left, and Robert Wood came in to run the theater, and then he turned it to Nova. Then and then he turned it into, in my opinion, like it just turned into musicals and same sort of shit that we're doing at at BST Billing Studio type of thing. So kind of that raw edge I've felt like. I mean, they did some great shit though. They did some really good stuff. His attention to like set design and stuff was incredible.
Talking about the new guy?
Yeah, Robert Wood.
Robert.
Mm-hmm.
And he still runs it?
No. He left, and then the theater kind of folded.
So is that not even going anymore then? Nova?
No. Nova then.
Oh, so that was Venture still.
That was Venture when it was with Robert. And then the theater started to fold.
Gotcha.
Like, yeah, they just couldn't. I don't know if it was a books thing. I don't know the specifics there, but financially, like, it was just not happening anymore. So, unfortunately, then Nova stepped in because we had that great space, right? Mm-hmm. The two beautiful theaters with all the classrooms. And so then it turned into Nova Center of Performing Arts, and Venture Theater is
no more.
Kind of basically no more.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately. So basically, then the improv catastrophe happens, all that stuff. I actually was called by Mace to do shows in Cripple Creek, Colorado. So I did Summer Stock Theater down there for some months. And then when I came back, my contract was up, or their productions were kind of up for that season. So I came back to Billings, and when I came back, I did some Venture stuff, but then was asked if I'd be interested in Projectile.
Sweet.
So that's kind of when I started kind of doing some Projectile shows and all that fun stuff, and by that time, Venture Improv was basically gone with the theater. I know they did some shows here and there and all that fun stuff, but. Mm-hmm. But I really enjoyed playing with Zach and Eric and Chad and Dave Overturf, like all those people, all those guys. So when they were over at, I think, Rail Yard at the time then.
I miss the Rail Yard.
It's my bar.
I mean, it's just one of those. It's
loved it.
Kind of another divey place, but also, God, I played so many shows there.
Yeah.
Like myself.
It was such a great spot.
Yeah.
Such a great spot. But anyway, so yeah, we were there, and I was kind of invited in and started kind of doing some shows here and there, but I was always there. I was always there. So if I needed to fill in, I got it.
Well, that's good too.
All that stuff.
Because it shows commitment, and it's like,
Yeah.
and you get to learn while you watch.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And in my improv, life or my comedy life, I was definitely still learning, still trying to get a grasp on the whole thing. And then I was finally started, to become a full-fledged member of the group and all that stuff. And at that time when I kind of rejoined them, doing those weekly shows was such a pain in the ass. It was so hard that they started dwindling that down into improv. And then the last Thursday of every month was a sketch comedy show. So that gave us more time to like write and, costume and do all this crazy stuff that we want to do. But without having to do it every week. And, but then that got hard too.
Yeah.
We weren't 20 somethings anymore, or, we're late 20s, people are having careers and all this shit. So then it just gets harder, right?
For sure.
We're not all baristas again,
Yeah, you're working 9 to 5s.
Yeah, now we're having some
families in the evenings and all that. So
kind of,
or just
but we're just all kind of growing out of that. We just didn't have that availability. Eric went from being a barista where he had that ability to bartending regularly over at Hooligans at the time and stuff like that. So now his time is getting eaten up and. As you do when you grow up, you just can't live off of ramen for the rest of your life. And unfortunately, I still do. Let's get real. Love ramen. But so then eventually, even those variety shows kind of started tapering off. And then Jason was leaving the group. He didn't want to, basically, he didn't want to run it anymore. So then Nick Kapatanakis took it over. With Jim, and they ran it for forever, and then Nick was moving, and so then Nick moved to Venice Beach. Jim had left, or I think he was still around. Anyway, regardless, then it was like, all right, well, we're leaving, so who wants to keep this thing going? And I slowly kind of raised my hand, and so then it turned into my LLC. And
nice.
So basically they dissolved their LLC. I created Projectile Comedy LLC. They were like, whatever, Projectile Entertainment, doesn't matter if you're not the IRS, I guess, but then I got it formed up under my myself, and then started running the group after that. But then that's when we're starting to hit families, and now we're starting to hit careers, and now we're starting to hit serious adulting, right? Zach is now like a superstar on Twitch.
Oh, wow.
Eric is now, part owner of the VIG. Dave went off. He sold his business, his house, went in a van, traveled through Mexico, Central and South America for over a year. So all these things just started happening, right? Because we're getting older, and in my career in IT started up and all this fun stuff. The group started falling apart from its original, guys. Yeah. And that's fine. That's happened. So then from that, I'm like, holy shit, we don't have anybody anymore. So then we started doing some, I guess, classes and stuff for improv, and finding potential members from those classes. And it's one of those things where I always preface, like, just because you're in this class doesn't mean you're going to be part of the group.
Yeah.
Learn the skills of this thing, because it's a beautiful tool to have, and you can incorporate it in your everyday life. And maybe you get up on stage with us, but it's just kind of, so we from the class we ended up getting like Paul McCarter and Morgan and basically everybody who's in our group now.
Nice.
But now we have, return players. Like Eric's back on stage with us every other week. Chad Corb's back in town. Jim's back in town. As life happens.
Well, and it's like, it's also nice though. Like you said, you still have the careers and all that, and you still got other things outside of this. Mm-hmm. So to have a wider group, it kind of gives you flexibility.
100%.
So if somebody can't make it this week, you got this person that can fill in.
I think we have currently like 11 or 12 shirted. We call it shirted. You're a full member if you're shirted. members of the group. So, you know, we need 5 every week. So it rotates. And it's
perfect.
great. Keeps the show fresh. You know, nobody's getting burnt out, you know, all that fun stuff. And, you know, we're always, you know, looking for new talent. We got to start a class up here again here soon. Since we haven't been able to because of COVID-y things, and hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah.
That we can. We'll see. But yeah, it's just always evolving and growing. So my biggest thing, I think, at the end of the day is I think that projectile comedy, specifically in my mind, is something special for Billings.
Yeah.
There's improv clubs, you know, there's stand-up clubs all over the country and stuff, but to have a group that's been around for 16 years and still going every Thursday, still $5 ticket, still 2 hours of improv, that's something special. Yeah. And it would just kill me to see something like that not be available anymore. And I'm like anything, there's going to be a day, I'm sure, that there is going to be the end of projectile comedy. But I would like to get us to a spot, or at least get things into motion, where I could be 90 on a deathbed and they're still performing that night.
Yeah.
I mean, that would just be tops, I think. So that's kind of...
Well, because like you said, it's kind of... You don't see a lot of that around here, where there's like these groups that are just like... I don't know. They're kind of a Billings institution.
Yeah.
Because like even bands, you know, like...
Right.
There's a few that stood the test of time and were around for a couple of, 20 years.
100%.
But even now... There's like really none that are still around.
Right.
It's like I think the oldest local bands that are still going are like maybe 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
And that's not overly impressive.
Right. Yeah. Just to have this one thing that's uniquely us and ours, I just love it.
I mean, yeah, I can't even hardly think. Maybe like what Billings Symphony Theater.
Yeah, Billings Symphony that's been going on for forever.
Right, but it's like there's very few things like that. Like there's that and like what else? Not
exactly.
much. So to have like a performative art that is like a standing group that is around that long is nice to, I don't know. It's nice to have for the community,
for Billings, and I totally agree. It's been great, and the show's still doing fine. know. It's not the hot ticket item it was 16 years ago when it was fresh and new and we were all, young 20s and, party animals and everybody was hitting the bars hard. And, and it's funny because like the state of the world right now, whereas back then bars commonly had stages.
Right.
Commonly. And now there's a handful of bars.
Tell me about it.
That have a stage.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you knew I'm in a band.
Yeah, I did know that. Yeah.
So, yeah, we have such a hard time trying to find venues. Like, we always just end up playing the same, like, 3 or 4 venues.
Yeah. Well, because you almost have to. Otherwise, if you go to another venue, they're like, here's your corner.
Right. And that's the worst. Because we've done that, too. We just play on the floor. And it's like, it just, you don't get that interaction with the crowd because it's just, there's something about being on a stage where you command the audience more.
Yes, 100%. I was just going to say, because when you're on the level of the audience, then you're just that asshole making noise in the corner.
Yeah.
But if you're elevated on a stage, man, there's something about having to look up at something that just automatically puts you into a different realm.
Well, it's like, I mean, it's definitely like an authority type thing. Where it's like, they've always, it's always been like kind of the thing, like a taller person commands more authority.
Sure, yeah, right.
So it's like, if you have to look up, I don't know what it is. It's some psychological
I'm sure
thing.
It's something back here from day one.
Yeah. And it's like, even if you have a mic, that doesn't make it, just because your voice is louder, that doesn't change it. But something about the stage.
Yeah.
So Craft Local.
Yeah.
We played there a couple times.
Great.
Twice we played on the floor.
Oh, interesting.
And those were good shows. But this last time we played, they just put a stage in, just like a little platform riser.
Just a little rise.
And it changed everything. Like, it was the best show we played there.
Right.
And I don't know, it definitely had to do with the fact that we had a stage.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just
100%. I'm glad they got something up.
Oh, dude, that's such a nice venue too.
It
like
is.
It's a hard room to play as far as music.
Such a hot dog of a room.
Yes.
But it carries though. That sound carries.
And I don't even care because it's a place that allows us to play.
Yeah.
And so that's all I'm looking for.
100%.
We just played last night at Andy's.
Oh, really?
It was outside. It was in the parking lot.
Well, that's funny.
Yeah, it's
I
like
always forget Andy's is a thing.
Yeah. Well, if you talk about dive bars, man, that's like the low, like on the bottom rung.
Yeah.
But I grew up in that bar,
Scraping
man.
the bottom of that barrel.
Yeah, my grandma used to bartend there, and like
shit.
my whole family's like grew up.
It's not a horrible spot.
It's really not. Like, it gets way more of a bad rap than like even going in there. It's like this isn't that bad. It's mostly like the crowd that ends up going there.
Sure.
That makes it bad, but like the bar itself is not that bad.
Well, now that the Lazy K is demolished, so maybe that will help, but smidgen, a little bit.
We got a couple more of them hotels to take down now.
Yeah, we do.
But no, I like that they're trying to get that area a little bit better.
It's a great area.
Yeah, well, and
it's
then
prime real estate.
the new what's that outdoor one? The Red Ox.
Yeah, that amphitheater outside
Yes.
there, that little thing, that looks awesome. I haven't
What
been
a
to a concert
cool
there,
project that they did, and like
Yeah.
got that together. I have not seen a show there yet, but just seeing the whole setup, I'm like, this is
but
great.
it's great. Yeah,
It's small but practical.
Effective. People
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
That I hear. So that's awesome.
So
But yeah, but live entertainment. The state of it right
Yes.
now it's really, really tough, and I think I'm seeing it in the audience too, especially. And I don't want to be like that guy, like, streaming is killing everything, but there is definitely a factor of people's attention. Their attention factor is down hard. Mm-hmm. And I shouldn't say everybody. Like the average age of our crowd is in their 30s.
okay.
And we do have people younger come to our shows. We do. We don't have a lot of repeat of those people that come to our shows. They'll come once and they'll enjoy it, but they leave at half because they just want something different. Like it's the attention factor is like, we're so used to like watching a show on Netflix, and now it's like, I don't like it. Next thing.
Yeah.
I don't like that next thing. All right, I'm gonna go do it.
Or just consuming 5 seconds worth of entertainment at a time, and then just next thing. Yeah. Whatever the next 10 seconds worth of.
I'm just as guilty of it.
Oh, sure.
I'm totally just as guilty of it. But yeah, I'm going to be curious to see how it works.
Well, especially having a whole year of only consuming that, basically.
Which has been a blessing because people watched all they could.
Right. And so people, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this, like, are people going to be more excited to consume live entertainment, or are they going to be more content staying home?
Right.
Which, from what I've seen, at least here, people want to see live entertainment.
100%. Yeah. They want to get out. They want to
Exactly.
get out. And which is great. And when we first started, when COVID started, or I'm sorry, billing started opening back up and all that stuff, and we were performing again, once everything was completely lifted, we saw a huge uptick, a huge spike in people attending our shows. And then other things started happening. The boat floats, all the stuff that might have been delayed from the spring until later that year, concerts, you name it, outside stuffs started happening. And then our audience went,
because everyone wants to
do all the other stuff. Yeah, all the other shit that I was told no last year too. And so yes, now we did feel that hit. Now Live After 5 started back up, which
on
is
Thursdays, of course.
on Thursdays, which has actually been a nice little marriage.
Really?
Because
I assume people leave there and go do your thing. What time is your guys' stuff?
Because we start at 8, and that's
Okay.
when theirs closes. So
Okay.
we do get those kind of filtered in, like people who still want to do something
The night's not over,
afterwards,
yeah.
or I do know some people who will go to a Live After 5 and then come catch the show. So it's good. It's been a good marriage that way and stuff. But I'm very curious to see, barring any future lockdowns again, what it will look like next year.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel we're in a post-COVID yet. We're still in COVID. We're at like the light at the end of the table or the tunnel, maybe, hopefully, knock on wood. But post-COVID to me is in like 2 years.
Yeah,
What's
and that's
that
kind of
world?
what they were saying all along too.
Yeah.
They said it's going to take more than
Right.
It's not going to just bounce right back.
Oh, no.
And that's with everything. That's not just with people getting comfortable going out. It's economy stuff. Like I was just talking about this the other day with somebody about because I just got shirts made for the band. I just picked him up yesterday.
Oh yeah.
And he tells me, he's like, oh yeah, it's just so you know, the price went up a little bit. So if you order these next time, it's gonna be more. He's like, everything's just going up in price, and then just telling me how like that's how it is with everything, and it's true, you know, and that's how it's gonna be for a little while.
Yeah.
And then hopefully eventually things start getting back to normal, and then prices kind of even out, and that would hopefully go along with just everything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
As far as just daily life and
exactly. Hopefully. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But
so one more question about performing.
Uh-huh.
Since like we do a different type of performing.
Right.
But how do you manage a crowd, and how do you like bounce? This is, I guess, the real question I would have is when an audience isn't feeding off you, or like you're not really getting that energy.
Mm-hmm.
What's your like method to engaging them back in?
Ooh, that's
such a hard
question,
thing to do,
and that is super hard to do. And I think what I've learned throughout the years, and at least from, and I'm speaking from like an improv comedy standpoint, where you know the MC is king, the MC is God of every show, right? And so the shows that I see falter, and where you kind of lose your initiative, I guess, or like, you know, we kind of lose that energy, really starts with the MC. So, you know, knowing that, you know, you have to start with that energy, and you have to make sure that they come along with your energy from the get-go is huge. And like everything else, you'll feel that energy kind of ebb and flow. You know, for me, I think it's never letting the audience dictate my energy ever, because that's too easy to do. I mean, it's so easy to do, don't get me wrong, and it's hard to not let that, because sometimes they're having a great time. They just, that audience's particular culture at that time isn't showing it. Right. Or it's like doing a show for a company party and the boss is there.
Yes.
Everyone's just quiet. They're loving it, but sometimes they're afraid to laugh.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they just, you know what I mean? So
different rooms invite
different rooms have different cultures within that time in that moment, right? So, but what I've learned, at least, is to just never let that, their maybe lack of response drain, or their lack of energy drain mine. I have to be up here.
Yes.
And I have to make sure that I'm projecting this energy. And if they're coming along with me, great. Or if they eventually decide to come along with me, awesome.
Right.
If not, there's not much I can do about it.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, I just recently, because like before this band, I went like 5 years without doing anything like that.
Uh-huh.
And then we've only, this is like our 5th or 6th show.
Uh-huh.
And so up until then, you know, I hadn't really had that I do karaoke, well, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Do karaoke and stuff. And that actually really was, and I credit that hugely to just being able to stand up on a stage and like not get nervous, or at least,
Sure.
I mean, you don't really do crowd work when you're
At a karaoke.
doing karaoke.
Yeah.
But that helped with my performance aspect.
Mm-hmm.
As far as crowd work goes, I didn't really get a lot of that. But I just recently like kind of found a little bit of a rhythm where it's like, oh, I have to like get out of my head and
100%.
just, and when you're up there and you know, you're not confident in what you're saying, and this kind of goes back to just the whole like stage thing anyway.
Yeah.
You also have to be, you know, assertive and make them believe in what you're saying.
Right. No, you have to be that presence.
Yeah, and
You
it's
have
almost
to be
like
present.
I kind of just become a character and on stage, and
Sure.
it's like I just got to be this super outgoing, super like energetic character, and that will make them reciprocate.
Right. Because we're not Guns N' Roses, or we're not like those people who are already energized the moment they step in there, right?
You have to make them. You have to make them care and believe.
Yeah. It's
like
your job to make them now.
Oh yeah, like
exactly.
You can be, like you said, you can be Guns N' Roses. People show up, they're already fans of you. You can just stand there and they'll be going crazy.
Right. Right. I mean, and I'm looking at your Broncos, Mile
yeah.
High Stadium thing, and it's beautiful. And I love going to games.
You're a Broncos fan, right?
I am. Yeah. Get it. But yeah, the energy, you feel it. It's in the air. Like you walk to your seat and you can't help but get goosebumps.
Right.
Because it's electric. It's so it's already embedded in that event, right?
Right.
And with those big concerts, but we don't have that. We don't have that luxury.
You got to like win them over.
You do. Yeah, you do. And I think where it fails, I think where it fails for people is that I remember going to a concert at the Rail Yard once, actually, and this is what comes to mind is this guy was in some band. I don't even remember what band it was, but I remember what he did, and I remember vividly. He was like, man, this fucking audience sucks and whatever, because we were all just, watching him, and remembering as a performer, like, oh no, you lost even if you had an inkling of somebody who was enjoying this before.
You just, yeah.
And then what the big lesson to me in that moment was, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here for you. What do you want? What are you expecting from me? You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just that realization that I can't expect or I can't want from my audience. The moment I want something from them, in terms of some sort of reactions or anything like that, if I'm needing that, I think I've lost.
Yeah,
I've
I feel
already
that.
lost it.
See, for me, I do try to get the audience involved and stuff. Like,
totally.
I'll try and be like, come on up here, let's.
Absolutely.
But for me, your performance has to reflect that. Like,
right.
They're not gonna react if you're not performing well, or if like the
100%.
music's not worth doing that for.
Right.
So obviously you perfect that first, and then
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, obviously that would be a terrible. You can't just say, "Oh, you guys suck."
Fucking suck.
Like, you kind of gotta invite them to do so, and you gotta be like, hey, come on up here, give me all your energy, do all that, But it's like,
that's the thing, right? Like, I can't expect anything from the audience. I don't want to expect that. I mean, I want them to have fun, right? And I want them to be involved, and I'm gonna do what I do to see if you come along. If you come along, great. If you don't.
Well, yeah, like you said, you can't just like expect that to happen. In some ways, you almost have to kind of, if the energy's not there, obviously there's two parts to that. One might be just your performance isn't sparking that.
Sure.
But if you can tell people are jiving to it, but you need more out of it, then yeah, you kind of gotta like almost poke the bear a little bit and be like, hey, like let's get into this.
Hey, wake up.
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, and you have to be energetic as well. Like, they're not going to do what you want if you're not doing that.
Right.
You got to give your 110% as well.
Yeah. I just think that guy went home and was like, how was the show? It's like, oh man, that audience sucked. And like, they blamed I almost guarantee you he blamed everybody but himself in that moment.
Well, and that's a problem.
It's just like, damn, dude.
And like you said, you remember that though.
Oh, 100%.
So it's like, you don't think that, like, that didn't positively affect that guy's act.
No. I don't remember him.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember that.
But, and it's like, I'm sure you wouldn't go back.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
Or
it's
if
like,
I saw him on stage, I'd be like,
that's the guy that said we
that's
suck.
that son of a bitch. Yeah, okay, I'm going to go.
I mean, I would never tell a crowd they suck. Like, even if they did suck in my head.
Oh, yeah.
You thank them for coming. Like, they paid the ticket. They took the time out of their day to come see you. Like, even if it wasn't the reaction I wanted, I always thank everybody for showing up. Even if they didn't see me. If they showed up, like, late last night and they didn't see my band, I still thank them for coming.
Yeah.
Because they came to support whatever we're doing.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. Came to have drinks and have a good time. At least some level or capacity.
Right.
Don't expect to, if you're expecting signed autographs every time, then
no.
gig. Yeah.
It's an interesting thing, just performing and finding your voice, finding your...
Yeah. And it
your
takes
rhythm.
a long time.
It does, yeah.
It takes a long time.
So I think I'm fine. I think I'm starting to at least
get to that,
get up on that hill a little bit, and
for sure,
and find my my own rhythm.
Right.
So
kind of where you sit in that world.
Yeah, and not just that, but also be uniquely individual. Like I'm not just trying to be something else. I want to be uniquely myself, or not just. And I shouldn't speak for myself. I'm talking like the band,
Sure,
total, because we're all one group,
right.
But kind of as a front man, I kind of have to
100%
be the face of it, and kind of starts with me, and then everyone else kind of follows.
Very similar with improv,
right?
I mean, because we are the group, and we're here to make this scene.
Mm-hmm.
But my flavor, as it were, in this scene, and what I bring is vastly different than what Eric brings, or Jessica brings, or Morgan, or Paul, or any of them. We all have different stuff, different flavors. But what makes this thing beautiful is that cohesion, just working together and all that. It's beautiful.
And if anybody has a poor performance, it could definitely affect the next guy, or
it could,
or maybe the next guy just has to step up his game and make it
or that guy's there to pick you up,
right?
Yeah. So if I falter and whatever, I got Jessica and Katie there to help pick me up.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's great.
One thing I want to start doing on the podcast, because I want to start implementing some segments.
Ooh.
So,
okay.
I got a segment I want to try.
Okay.
You'll be the first one.
I'm the first?
Yes.
I'm the first?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to do...
Don't fuck it up.
No. It's super easy.
Cool.
So I want to start doing a top 5.
Ooh.
And I'm going to kind of
okay,
do it specifically towards, more tailored to you. As far as things that you things we've talked about, things we've done.
Okay.
So,
okay,
I'm going to ask you, who are your top 5 stand-up comedians?
Oh, bad question.
Why?
I don't watch a lot of stand-up comedy.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't.
Fair enough.
I'm a bad comedy viewer.
Okay.
But honestly,
well, I can.
But
do
no. I got this. I might not have a top 5, but Dave Chappelle, in my mind, is a genius.
It's my number 1.
His comedy's on his. I just love his perspectives.
Yes.
And his honesties.
Yeah.
And I think he's tops.
That's my number 1 as well.
Yeah, for sure. After that, you know what? I really maybe this is cliche. I don't know if this is cliche. I shouldn't say that. But Jim Jeffries, I really enjoy him a lot.
Okay. Jim
Jeffries is up there. And again, just because I love his unique perspective of this Aussie in America. I love that. Yeah. I just love, that sort of thing. Who was I? No, that was, again, that was Dave Chappelle. Oh, geez, why can't I think of... So I think those are my top 5. Those are my top 2.
Okay. Fair enough.
I still do enjoy like the old Carlins.
Absolutely.
Those are great. I can put those on at any time and still have a great time with those. I know there's others, but I'm just not a great comedy watcher.
Fair enough.
Isn't that weird?
I mean, it's not that unusual.
I think there's also a part of me that once I want to make sure that I'm fresh.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to be too inspired by somebody's something, or maybe I regurgitate something, not trying to rip somebody off,
Absolutely.
But it's there.
Yeah.
And I might.
I totally
scares
get that.
me.
And I've heard from several, because I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So I've heard from them a lot. They say, when they first started out, they would do the cadence or the rhythms. They would basically mimic some of their favorite comedians.
Right.
And that's a problem because you got to find your own voice.
You do.
But then also, I'm sure it would be hard to not hear a joke and at least even take a premise.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Some of my favorite podcasts right now, I listen to Improv for Humans,
Okay.
Matt Besser's Upright Citizens Brigade type improvs. And then I also listen to Hello from the Magic Tavern.
Okay.
Which is fucking check that out. It's these 3 Chicago improvisers, but their podcast is based off this guy who falls in through an interdimensional portal behind a Burger King and finds himself in this mythical land of Foon. And he's joined every week by his two buddies, and I'm totally regurgitating his spiel, Usador the Wizard and Chunt the Talking Badger, who's actually a shapeshifter, who can only shapeshift after he has had sex with the thing.
Oh my god.
So he's a badger because he fucked a badger last. So he might be like something else if he had sex with something else, some other species. Anyways, but then they always have guests on, and it's funny because all their episodes are completely improvised, and there's a weird little bit of a story arc even in it.
Okay.
But they have all these great guest improvisers on with them and stuff, and so it is set. Like the improv is set in terms of like characters and all that stuff, but their guests are always different, and it's magical. Right. But the reason I preface that is I even find myself, even after listening to Improv for Humans and Hello from the Magic Tavern, I'm very conscious of I want to say this thing and going, oh,
that's not mine.
Not mine. Can't do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that'll floor me, like because I'll want to say something and I'll have to reset. Because I'm like, oh no, I can't do that.
Oh man, when I first started doing music, and like, I mean, obviously I was in like high school and like even middle school, so I very, very green. First songs I wrote, the first anything. Looking back, I'm like, oh, that's Rob Zombie. Like that's directly Rob Zombie's melody, or like, oh, that's straight somebody else's like lyrics almost. Even
sure.
I basically took it was a lot of melodies. Like I would take a lot of different other bands' melodies and stuff.
And that's hard, right? Because I mean, we live in a world where music is constantly around us, right?
So hard to make original music. Like,
yeah,
and it's not because I mean we do it pretty easily with my band, you know.
Sure.
The real hard thing is to just find a group that can make original music well.
Right.
And I got lucky, and we happen to have a pretty good group that we can do it. And honestly, I mean, I've definitely gotten way better at doing it, but the last band I was in, I thought I was pretty good at it. And I just, for some reason, I would make the most bland shit. You know, it was original, and it wasn't like ripped off of anything, but it was just so bland. Like the lyrics were just basic.
Sure.
The melodies were just so nothing.
Yeah.
With this one, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because I've grown. Maybe it's because what they're doing is better. But I actually come up with very intricate like melodies and lyrics, and it's actually, I don't know. That's
fun.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fun.
That's my favorite part about doing it. It's like I've never ever considered myself a great singer or anything, and I would never. Sure. But I will never discredit myself when it comes to lyrics.
I will take vocal talent, or I will take content over vocal talent any day.
See, and that's where I feel like I'm definitely better at.
Yeah. Well, and that's fine. I mean, look at. I mean, I guess maybe this is like Louis Armstrong, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus, he has no voice.
Right.
But the guy's spirit is in everything he's singing, whether it's not. I mean, Christina Aguilera, boy, you can sing.
Great voice, but basic lyrics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just like okay, I say vocal vomiting.
Yeah.
Because she's just like, it was like, I get it.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'll take anybody who's got that raspy smoker's voice, but has great lyrics and a great tune behind it. I'll take that all day.
Let me give you one more top 5.
Love it.
But I'll give you one that you can actually do. Top 5, your personal top 5 favorite actors.
Ooh, I love it. Okay, so yeah, and I'm gonna put Gary Oldman on that, but he's not my number one. Daniel Day is my number one.
Great, yeah,
he's up there. This is gonna maybe sound well, no, because okay, so I'm going to put Kevin Spacey as my number 2. Now I understand that he's a piece of shit and all that stuff. I'm just going from a pure like acting talent wise though. That guy is a.
I've always said you have because it is a hard thing to not discredit somebody like
totally.
that. But you have to, separate the artist from the art
a little bit.
Like if somebody writes an amazing song, like okay, are we gonna sit here and say O.J. Simpson was an amazing running back?
For sure. For sure.
He was still a you know MVP.
Yeah. Heisman winner and all that fun stuff.
And
despite
that doesn't he clearly not a great dude.
Right.
But we're not going to sit here and say what he did wasn't what it was.
If we're talking football, he's in the conversation.
Absolutely.
If we're talking about stand-up citizens, now we're not talking.
Same
about,
with music. Like I mean,
exactly.
There's definitely music artists that have had issues, but their music is still amazing. That doesn't discredit what their art was. So no, yeah. Kevin Spacey, amazing
Spacey's
actor.
on there. Philip Seymour Hoffman's on there. May he rest in peace. Gary Oldman is on that list. And I think for my number 5, it's getting tough. Goodness. My number 5. I'm trying to think. Meryl
Streep. Yeah.
For sure. And I wish I had more of a female presence on that top 5.
Well,
honestly, but
sure.
I don't want to sound too chauvinist and
all
that stuff, but
see when it comes, because I always feel that way too. But
there's the buts. No, yeah.
Well, so okay, here's an example. My top 5 like Disney movies are like Aladdin, Lion King, Hercules, and I was like, well, why is that? Well, they're all male leads,
right?
Because I mean, as a man,
sure you kind of identify more with that.
It's so much easier to identify with that, and so like I can see that with actors too. Like you're kind of like seeing yourself through their eyes. It's a lot easier for you to I don't know.
Scratch that. What is? Isn't it Kathy Bates? The one from Is it Kathy Bates?
From which?
Goodness gracious. From Fried Green Tomatoes and Tomatoes.
By the way, the comment I made...
It is Kathy Bates.
The comment I made was not to discredit women actors, because there's a lot of really great women actors.
In fact, sorry, Meryl, you're off. Kathy Bates is on. She, are you picturing her?
Yes.
You have her from... So Fried Green Tomatoes, not Psycho. What was that one really, really creepy one where she was, like, making the... God, she was terrifying in it. Speaking of people who do antagonists really, really well, I can't believe it's escaping me. It's that Stephen King book that the movie's based off of, with the writer she keeps hostage. Misery. Thank you. Yeah. Misery. Even I love her in Waterboy. Yeah. Like I feel like she is one of those super diverse, very, very, very good at what absolutely. She does. I'm going to put her as definitely my number 5, Kathy Bates. She's awesome.
Okay.
But I also do think too, and as our society is growing and all these things, is that, I guess there's this part of me too that has to remember, we put males in these wonderful, wonderful movies, in these wonderful roles. And females don't have that same sort of ability yet, or right. has had that same sort of kind of equal opportunity to have those wonderful moments and all that fun stuff. I mean, they're out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, for sure. Like
I said, I definitely do think it's easier for you to see like certain. I mean, and you're right that men have been given different.
Well, we've just been, it's a dominant male society still, and we're trying to get out of that, which I love, and I'm excited for.
But as far as you seeing like your favorites, I feel like a lot of that comes from you just like also seeing yourself through that, and
using and that top 5, like Daniel Day-Lewis and but also those Philip Seymour Hoffman's actors. And they're incredible actors, and they're muses. Like I love watching them and kind of studying them a bit during their performances. What makes that work, and what doesn't, or whatever's. But they've been huge influences.
Awesome,
for sure.
Well, I think we're about wrapping up, getting toward the end here.
Okay.
Always like to end the show with a positive or motivational message from the guest.
Okay. my motivational thing, I guess, would just do it. Just do. I think in my comedy acting career, just doing things has opened up so many doors and so many different experiences. And even outside of that, even outside of performance and stuff, just like there's things I'll just try just 'cause I feel like I could. So let's try it. Let's do it. I made pemmican the other day 'cause I saw it and I thought maybe I'd do it. So I made meat bars.
Hey,
it's like whatever.
Well, I mean, you don't ever do anything without doing it.
Yeah, just do it. Yeah. So I mean, even if there's anything maybe remotely interesting, try it. Just do it. It's the improv, the whole freaking cliche, always say yes, type of thing,
right?
Which I have my qualms about, but at the same point, but accepting and doing things and saying yes to situations and stuff, as they come out, I think makes for a more richer experience in life, because that's all we can really guarantee.
I like it.
Yeah.
Go ahead and promote anything you want to promote as far as when the Projectile Comedy is, where people can see it.
Yeah, Projectile Comedy. Of course, we're always present on Facebook. Unfortunately, we're going to work on a new website coming up, so I can't direct you to a website right now. But there's Projectile Comedy on Instagram, Facebook, all that fun stuff, so you can follow us on those platforms. And of course, we perform every Thursday from 8 to 10 at the Loft Dance Club. Always a great time. And then beyond that, if you are looking for some live theater and stuff, look up Yellowstone Repertory Theatre. I believe it's YellowstoneRepTheater.com. Oh, actually, no, I think it's all spelled out, YellowstoneRepertoryTheater.com in terms of their website and stuff. And again, of course, we're always on the social media platforms with Yellowstone Rep as well for upcoming shows and all that fun stuff. Besides that, I think that's it.
Right on.
Hell yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on the show, man. I really
Thanks
do
for
appreciate
having
it.
me. This was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah,
I love
absolutely. And then for everybody out there, thank you for watching. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe, do all of that. And just do it, because life's a garden. Dig it.